Hey guys, Mad Mert here. I'm going to do a quick video this morning about the F-150, the 4.6 2-valve that I've done the head job on and valve job on. And right now I'm at the point where I'm putting the timing chain on, if you can see. And I'm going to do this video just to kind of consolidate everything that you kind of need to know and things to kind of pay attention to and some things not to worry about. But the first thing is that this is a Windsor engine, VIN code 6. They have two engines that were made in two different plants. You have a Romeo and a Windsor. So when you're ordering parts, just look at your VIN code. It's the eighth spot on your VIN code. It's either W or 6, and it'll tell you which, when you're ordering parts, which one. Because some of the parts are different, and they're specific to the engine. So, anyways. So what we got here is I got my timing chains on. Now I originally installed them, and there was something wrong. It wasn't the driver's side was too tight, and I couldn't get the chain tensioner in there. It was just there's something wrong. So I went back and hit the books and internet and everything like that, and checked some stuff out. And the thing that I found out. Now I've been a mechanic for 13 years. Yes, maybe add a few more years to that. But I've been a heavy equipment mechanic, so I worked on a lot of all the heavy equipment in the military. I did that for 9 years when I was in the Army. And when I worked for the state, I was a heavy equipment mechanic. I rarely worked on any small vehicles. So working on small vehicles now. I have the mechanical knowledge and know-how, so it's easier to figure things out, So, so this, when I did the head job on this, I tore the heads all apart and everything like that. So so now I'm to the point now where I'm trying to get the timing chains on here, everything timed so it, I don't get any bent valves or, collateral damage, so that I'll have to pay for. So first things first, when you're going to do this, either cam swaps or timing chain swaps and this and that, highly recommend you get the cam locking tool. Here it locks the cam in place, and I have one. I should have gotten two. One for both sides to hold it when I'm initial setup here after putting the heads back on. I don't, so on this side I'm going to have to pry it to get the chain links lined up. Now, what I found is that the driver's side over here, okay, the timing marks right here, I have highlighted here. On the passenger side here, which is the right side of the engine, this one's going to point about 11 o'clock. Okay, and then this one over here is going to be, you want it to point at 12 o'clock. Okay, so now that's with the number one piston at top dead center on the compression stroke. And what I kept down here, the crank, I kept the keyway pointing at number one cylinder, and kept it there, haven't moved it. You don't want to move the pistons any way, shape, or form while the chains aren't on to mess up the timing. But if you did, you get it back to top dead center. That piston to top dead center as close as you can. On the compression stroke. And then what I found is that on these chain tensioner guides, or on these timing chain guides, the bottom ones, the straight ones, you can't mix them up. You have a left and right. And you also have on the guides that the chain tensioner pushes on, you have a left and right as well. Now, if you can see here, let me get this right here. If you can see, this side, the one on my left here, has a longer space, stub sticking out that's built into it. And this one over here is shorter. So as you can see, one is longer, one's shorter. The longer one goes on the passenger side. Over here, it goes on the passenger side because this is the chain that sticks out further. Okay, the driver's side goes on first, and then you put on the passenger side. So the one with the longer spacer obviously goes on the passenger side because the chain sticks out further. So I messed up and put the passenger side on the driver's side. I put the right one on the left side, and things weren't working out too well. So I kind of dry ran, test fitted it, and it seemed like it would work when I switched them. So now I have to go back and put these back on, get the chains all lined back up. Now, one thing that I did find, and after I did put these on, and I turned the crank over and everything like that by hand. You want to do that several times after putting your timing chain on, because if you do it by hand and a valve touches a piston, if your chain slipped or something while you're installing this, it won't turn over. So it's better to do it by hand than it is to throw it all together and then fire it up and then, you know, bend your valves and punch holes in your pistons. So the one thing I found is that what not to worry about, which I was freaking out initially, is when you line up the colored links with the timing marks on here. Once you spin it over, after everything's good, and the tensioners, or you release the tensioners and everything, once you spin it over, they're not going to line up, you know, every second turn or every fourth or eighth turn. Okay, these are just, those marks are just for initial lineup. It takes several, or it takes many rotations for it to line up, just because there's only so many teeth on the gears down here in the crank, and there's so many links, and so the ratio is off to where it's not even, and it won't line up right away. These are just initial marks to line up, so don't worry about it not lining up after you rotate the engine by hand and stuff. And if it rotates over smoothly, everything like that, and you know, you double checked your timing marks, the right side being 11, the left side being at 12 o'clock, and down below, you know, the keyway's pointing at the number 1 piston, and then when you put the sprocket on, the timing mark is at 6 o'clock underneath it. Then you're good to go, and then turn it over several times. I do it 4 to 8 times just to make sure to get through all the exhaust and intake strokes and everything of all the cylinders. And if it goes over smoothly, then you can put it together and run it. So that's one thing I found, was I was like, man, these timing marks are not lining up with the colored links on the chain. Well, they're not going to right off the bat. I mean, it takes a while for it to, just because of the teeth and link ratio. So that's what I found. I was freaking out, but I'm like, okay, I feel good now because finally got that all researched. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, on this, it's good to put in the straight guides and everything, line your chains up, and then put your I call it the chain tensioner guide because it pushes on it. Put those on, and then install your, or you can install the whichever is easier, doesn't give you too much hassle. Either do the guide first and then the tensioner, or do the tensioner and then the guide. So and anyways, as you can see here, I have these plates where my chain tensioners go, because not all the aftermarket chain tensioners that you get are going to line up with the gaskets here. They're not going to line up. These gaskets on here aren't good. They come in different shapes and stuff, so they're not going to line up. So these plates that come with the kit, this hole right here is where the oil goes through. So this whole plate right here blocks off the rest of the area that the other gaskets won't block off in there. So so it keeps the oil coming in there. I think you need like, it's something like 15 psi of oil pressure to those chain tensioners and everything, that so to keep the tension on the chain and all that stuff. So so anyways, I hope that was helpful for you guys. Like I said, I'll go back over it again. The right side, the timing mark pointed at 11. The driver's side, which is the left side, the timing mark pointed at 12 o'clock. And then down below, the keyway pointing at number 1 cylinder, and then the timing mark on the gear pointed at 6 o'clock. So if you got that set up and you get your links with those colored links lined up and everything and put on there, then you should be good to go. And like I said, turn it over by hand several times. So I'm going to do this, and then I'll once I get it together, I'll continue the video.